Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Upper left hand corner, we've got Tim starting as the mustard yellow Protoss. Bottom right hand corner, we have Machine starting as the gray Zerg. The matches thus far have been fast and furious. We have cross spawn in this instance. Usually in this scenario, a lot of people would be like, oh, okay, this is going to favor out the Protoss, most likely, because you have less fear of Hydralisk bust, things along those lines. I will say, though, that Machine, more than anything, is known for his absolutely fantastic and ferocious macro. So being at cross positions and having a bit more early game, I guess it kind of depends on what stage of the game you're talking about as well. In the early stages with gateways and zealots running across the map, it ends up not favoring Protoss as much in cross position, because obviously the Zerg ends up with more time to prep defenses, get Zerglings out, things along those lines. Overlord making its way top right, by the way. And it looks like Tim is hanging around potentially to drop another gateway, by the way. Really wanted to, in the previous match, really wanted to hunt down that third drone. And I'm wondering if it cost him other opportunities to maybe get some other drone or economic damage done. Gateway drop at the natural expansion and starting his scouting pattern. This is... Did I update the map? I did not update the map. This is on this map, Metropolis, which is, this is Metropolis, right? Anyway, 4-player map. It's the 4-player map that has the huge areas behind the behind these areas. The Machine has decent Mutalisc Micro. I wouldn't say he has the best Mutalisc Micro in North America, but he does have Mutalisc Micro that wins him games and has won him games in the past. It's actually pretty sharp. So, and even if you're not going Mutalisk on this map and you decide to play Manzerg, which involves Overlords and Overlord dropping, there's just a lot of, not droppings, but dropping. There's a lot of opportunity to harass the rear expansion here and to crawl up lurkers up to this location. So there's just a lot of things. Keep in mind, High Templar drops, Dark Templar drops. Also an opportunity. Look at this guy getting in the self-love, self-hug right there in the water. It's a spa day for him. I could use one of those. Machine cycling around is going to make his way up, is going to spot that first zealot as it's making its way across the map. Not in time to create a blockade, but this is the furthest walking distance. We do have a drone blockading right this second as the probe is marching its way forward. Gonna go ahead and try to soften up that drone a bit. Spawning pool not that far from finishing. Tim really wants to get eyes on Zergling timings and whatnot, so he knows when to draw that zealot back. First 2 Zerglings spawned. Machine way... Oh, look at this. Great timing here from Tim. Going to be able to interrupt. Has really been on top of interrupting that third. The zealot proceeding forward this time is going to try to march its way all the way into the main. The Zerglings are going to spawn. So usually a zealot would have an opportunity to just walk in, get a drone or two. But because of the cross position, yeah, playing against Tim, he's in fact, wanted to get behind those lines. And instead is taking a terrible trade with the Zealot. The Zealot's just eating a lot of damage right this second, where even if it gets behind the lines, in the midst of this, he's going to have a lot of trouble. A third Zealot finding the drone here at the 6 o'clock. So Tim not only blocking it might get a drone kill there, not only blocking the 3 o'clock base, also blocking the 6 o'clock base. So definitely delaying mining a bit for Machine. Machine relegating himself to going ahead and grabbing some resources as well. If he's on the spot with this, the Zerglings could flood their way across and catch this Zealot, at which point I do not know that the blockade with the Zealot and the probe was worth it. But otherwise, Tim really taking some good hits and delaying that hatchery for a significant period of time. The Zealots, okay, does the Zealot make its way out of the into the shadows, I should say? Hugging, I think just now spotted. Does Machine pounce on it? Next question. It looks like he's charging his way forward to try to get some early damage, potentially like game 1. The damage Zealot is going to make it home. A cannon dropped by Tim. And the Zealots should be able to protect the front, although, okay, for this Zealot scrambling over, 4th Zealot out as well. Zergling is just going to hold. So this third base delayed quite a long time there by Tim. Another good amount of Zerglings out, by the way. So Machine investing quite heavily in the early game. It looks like he's going to go for a Hydra Busk once again. We'll see if it's successful. This is where the cross position ends up paying dividends for Tim, because those Hydralisks are going to take a lot of time to make their way across the map. On top of it, the Forge and Gateway have taken no damage this time, where the Forge was heavily damaged previously. Also, the Zerglings taking a lot of shots before they're drawing back. 5 Zealots starting to march. We do have another packet of Zerglings that could fend this back. First drone there at the 3 o'clock base, by the way. 23 drones overall, which if we'll see if Machine stops creating additional workers at that stage. That would definitely give us an indicator of how aggressive he plans to be with this initial play. The Zealots marching into the 3 o'clock base are going to see initial Hydralisk spawn, so that should be a heads up for Tim. Might even force Machine to go ahead and defend this 3 o'clock base. That'll give him some time to go ahead and get the cannons up. The Zerglings making their way in. Oh, not the best engagement point, unfortunately. And Tim can keep, walking back and forth across the lines. Hydralisks are attacking uphill, so they also have the misfire on top of everything else here. And is Machine able to pick out the weak Zealot? So Tim doing a really good job of shoving into Machine's face with the Zealot. So the Zealot's going to lose their lives, but did interrupt mining there at the 3 o'clock. And honestly, a handful of Zealots to get the forewarning and be able to buy that time to go ahead and get all of your cannons up and get the additional gateways behind everything else. Well worth it. These 2 Zealots also pocketing themselves top right to be menaces later in the match. Absolute hooligans. Corsair diving its way. We have the Overlords a bit in no man's land. Another hatchery getting dropped by Machine in response to this, recognizing at best he'll get the Forge and the Gateway. And actually, I don't think none of this is protected, by the way, with the positioning. Corsair cycling its way across is able to get some good scouting information. Gateway is going to fall without too much to do. The Forge not even bothering going for the upgrade, but now those Zealots from earlier once again able to wedge themselves into the 3 o'clock location. Machine actually pulling off, leaving the Forge to deal with the Zealots, and Tim doing a great job, honestly. So this is behind having to drop a lot of cannons, still able to apply economic pressure, and the Corsair starting to work on the Overlord. Single Hydralisk being drawn back to deal with that. The Zealots have been cleaned up. Additional hatcheries dropping. Are we going to... We'll have to see whether this transitions into... So we got 6 hatcheries out, whether this transitions into 6 hatch Hydra... Or 6 hatch Mutalisk. Can't talk all of a sudden. Off of this, I believe we're just going to stick to a lot of Hydralisk production. And try to sneak in some drones as best we can as well, because Evolution Chamber has been dropped. Forge now cycling the initial upgrade. It looks like it's going to be armor to start. I take that back. Second Forge there with +1 weapons as well. Tim's going to have a nice, sizable upgrade advantage. He's got some decent troops. Zealot leg speed, which means these Hydralisks might want to get their way out of here. Is this enough? I don't know if this is enough to defend at the 3 o'clock as well. The Hydralisks getting caught and taking a lot of free damage as they're trying to march back to the 3 o'clock base to defend it. The Corsair looks like it's going to get some additional damage easily mid-map. Another Corsair heavily battered. Did that get a kill? Looks like it managed to get a kill. So 2 Overlord kills as well. Tim's still finding ways to get economic damage. The Hydralisks hanging out at this location, but the Zealots just proceeding to the natural expansion. A handful of Hydralisks right there, and now a second Evolution Chamber along with a blockade. Tim drawing the Hydralisks to the north as the Zealots proceed. A decent Sim City, and this, able to sneak all the way across. Hydralisks bunching up there. Tim definitely doing a good job of distracting and forcing Machine to continue to produce troops rather than just go straight economy. This Overlord, what is it doing? It's lucky that it's not going to get itself sniped. When +1 weapons finishes, we'll see if Tim redraws. The Corsairs remaining fairly active as well. The Hydralisks not in time to save another Overlord, but able to pick off both Corsairs. And this is interesting. This is something like the previous match. A Dark Templar alongside, a little bit late to the party. This is something like the previous match where you have a lot of the Zerglings gathering outside the natural. And so you know there's Zealot attack happening at some point. The question is when? Dark Templar trying to dive into the 3 o'clock, getting caught. Spire also halfway constructed. This could turn into a really bad day for the Zealots and also Tim at large if he's not careful and doesn't get a lot of anti-air. But for the moment, he's well up on supply. He's starting to filter in some Dragoons. His upgrades are fantastic. +1, a very fast +1 armor, +1 weapons. Hydralisks are going to finish +1 in not too long, but Tim does have an opportunity to press an attack before that initial upgrade completes. And even if that does not come to fruition, Tim is already staging to go ahead and grab that 9 o'clock base, and there's not a lot that Machine can do about it right this second. Instead, he's grabbing 9 Mutalisks, but this is well before actually with these Dragoons, they might be able to handle it. An additional Overlord's going to get picked off. Machine may be in trouble here, because 9 Mutalisks versus 8 Dragoons. The Dragoons might not do so bad, especially if they can get some focus fire. But with the Hydralisks in combination, might be able to wipe this out. And then, if there's not enough anti-air in the midst of this, Machine could be in trouble. Loses a big hatchery on the front, by the way. And the Dragoon's starting to retreat. The Zealot's now exposed. Kind of an interesting combination attack where the Mutalisks need the Hydralisk support to take on the Dragoons. The Zealots want to stay away from the Mutalisks, and the Mutalisks want to try to get the Zealots in isolation. Tim continuing to press the attack. +1 weapons is complete, so it looks like Tim overextended a bit, but he got a hatchery for this and got a lot of damage otherwise. And Machine, the secondary problem now for Tim, though, is once these Dragoons die, I don't know that he has a lot of anti-air. He didn't get that 9 o'clock base up. He has the probe staged to grab it, but didn't get it complete. And if Machine keeps pressing Mutalisks, he can potentially just dive in and wipe out the main. The Dragoons regrouping. We're waiting on some lurkers. No observers, by the way. Never mind, an observer crawling up to the forward field. Thought Tim had neglected that in the space of this. The lurkers not yet morphed or burrowed. Yeah, going for a counterattack at the 9 o'clock, and now Tim in a situation where he needs to win it off the troops that are pressing out. Otherwise, Machine is going to turn around, potentially get a contain, and potentially roll him over as well. Corsair engaging 3 Mutalisks, getting actually full spread. 2 Dragoons retreating. We have a High Templar and a Zealot that might be able to turn the tides here. It looks like Machine well aware of the potential of that drop. It looks like that is going to get sniffed out and cleaned up. Tim able to clean up the 9 o'clock before the lurker's able to burrow, by the way. But Machine's still in a pretty good supply situation. Oh, still gets the storm off. Holy cow. Machine's still ahead in workers, which is a scary situation. However, +2 weapons, +2 armor about to complete for Tim. Machine does not have the equivalent +2, nor does he have air control. So despite the supply looking fairly even, Tim's army actually hits incredibly hard. Though it be small but mighty right this second. Tim forwarding that army to offer a target up to Machine while he grabs the 9 o'clock. Machine sneaking a base in the top right in the midst of this. I think that was an... not sure what that was. That got a little bit too far ahead. Might have been a Corsair or an Observer. More troops gathering mid-map here for Tim. Not a lot of lurkers out to thin the Zealot hordes, but there's not a lot of Zealots on the ground. We got 5 Zealots. Mostly Dragoons otherwise. Maybe 6. Checking the 6 o'clock. The 6 o'clock unoccupied. Corsair still remaining active and getting some good kills. Where's that Mutalisk going? The Mutalisk's staying away from that Corsair right this second. Tim pressing into this. I think he's recognized he's got that upgrade advantage. The one observer picked off, a second observer behind this. The lurker is getting cleaned out. Corsair still active, by the way, along that corner. And Tim pushing the troops forward. And again, problem for Machine is his army just does not hit anywhere near as hard. More Overlords getting picked off as well, continuing to stay in the red. So despite being even on workers, he's not able to get the supply count up that he's looking for. And also Tim's been very active with the Corsairs this entire time. going to grab another base at the 12 o'clock location. That'll actually put him economically ahead. Top right base is complete. Teching to Hive on the Zerg side of the map. Another hatchery refilled. And Corsair making sure that 6 o'clock base has not been established. Tim right now going to play whack-a-mole. So we do have an Overlord bottom left, but he's going to send out troop lines to see where bases are established. And once he finds them, he'll likely field attacks that direction. Kind of a spoking sort of maneuver. He sees the drones making their way top right. We've got a handful of Hydralisks. This is not going to be enough to defend this. Machine trying to buy himself some time with the egg trick. And Tim, rather than pressing up to the top right, is instead establishing that 12 o'clock, getting a lot of workers into place there, and diving the rest of his army. Unburrowed lurkers, also highly grouped for Psystorm. Observers have been picked up. One observer's picked off, second observer's still there, and the Dragoons continue to press into this. Tim, by the way, not that far away from +3/+3. And Machine again not having the troop count nor the upgrades to repel the Dragoons. Hydralisk trying to engage and melting behind this, and Tim might be able to even take out this natural expansion. Drones retreating to the main. High Templar are no longer to be part of this, but it looks like the Dragoons, with the weapon upgrades, are just going to be able to sit here and wail on everything. One follow-up Psystorm, 2 more lurkers making their way in. The Observer slightly out of position to provide support there. Looks like one hatchery down. Is another hatchery going to get wiped out in the midst of this? More units are making their way forward. The Observer again slightly out of position to provide detection, so that lurker's getting free hits, but not the lurker. It's a lone lurker versus all of this. Still able to at least get the price of blood in a single Dragoon. Machine now desperate to hold this army back. Corsair still active top right, by the way. And Tim starting to rally troops across the map. Archon able, wow, 10 kills on that Archon. Level 3 complete. Drones now making their way to the natural expansion. I'm not sure why Machine thought he was going to be to reestablish this. Instead, just leaving the drones to the Archon's flaming hands. Now Hydralisk finally making their way from the north. Archon's already made its way into the main. It looks like it's just going to go for drones, and they're bunching up for it. Oh, brutal, brutal kills on the drone lines. Just having to exchange bottom right to the natural expansion. So Machine effectively on a crippled 2 bases. A little bit of saturation there. Top right still hasn't been able to reestablish position on this natural. And Tim now sailing effectively off 3 bases. He's got his natural expansion still mining for a bit, but still has the 12 o'clock and the 9 o'clock. Heavily upgraded. And the Psystorms have been really solid as well. Natural expansion hatchery not that far from collapsing. These troops should be able to seal its fate. We have the Hive this entire time. I'm wondering if tech can get dropped someplace else in an emergency manner. Right now, Machine is... I don't see any attack troops outside of this bunch right here. Tim with triple the supply of Machine, and I think that does it. The Zealots walking into the main. There another Zealot Lurker egg trick to go ahead and block out this attack for us. Fortunately, the Archon going to be able to obliterate that post-haste. And a single sunken colony stands between the Zealot Armada and the drone line. That is GG from Machine. Tim takes game 3. Well played from him. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.